By the end of this video, you're gonna learn what I believe to be the most underrated shot in pickleball, the lob. Specifically in this video, we're gonna be talking about the offensive lob. I'm gonna teach you what it is, why you might consider it, how to do it, when you should hit it, and where to place the ball in the court. So let's start with what the lob is, right? And the offensive lob takes place when all four players are at the kitchen. So an offensive lob is not when I am back here in the mid-court. Let's see, me and Johnny are back here. There's a lot more error when I hit a lob back here from the mid-court, or when I hit a lob back here from the baseline. Now, I'm gonna talk about lobs from the mid-court or from the baseline in another video, which I'll consider the defensive lob, but right now the offensive lob takes place when we're at the kitchen. So why is the lob an important shot and why is it an effective shot? Well, anytime you have four players at the kitchen line, we're always looking for different ways that we can be unpredictable. We're looking for ways to get our opponents off balance, and specifically, we're looking for ways to push our opponents off the kitchen line. Because anytime we push an opponent off the kitchen line, for example, if I lob it over Spencer's head, right? Now, all of a sudden, you saw what happened. I pushed Spencer back, and I also pushed Jack back. If we have two people at the kitchen line, and our opponents are back off the kitchen line, we're at the advantage. When all four people are at the kitchen line, we're neutral, right? We're always looking for ways to get an advantage, and so that's one way, this lob is one way to gain the advantage. Quick interruption, zoom in, a little bit out, I got a video series, a new video series for you. 18 advanced tips to help you move up a level. Go to the description below, click the link, type in your email, and start getting videos immediately. One video a day for 18 days. Let's go. Now back to the video. So let's talk about when you might lob. Well, if I have opponents that are really short, go ahead and just shorten down yourselves for a second. A little shorter. Anytime you have opponents that are short, like you walk onto the court and you say, oh, my opponents are rather short. What's short? I mean, you define it for yourself. I'm gonna consider lobbing, right? Because again, I wanna gain an advantage. And so I notice what my opponents are. If I notice they're rather short, I might get them back, try to push them off the kitchen line because they're probably not gonna be able to jump up and get that ball. If I notice that my opponents, early in a match, maybe I hit some type of lob, have a bad overhead, right? So Jack's my friend. His overhead has a lot of opportunity, okay? So let's say I'm playing Jack. I hit some type of lob and Jack does like a really bad overhead. So like, let's just be exact. Actually, just be you. Yeah. So I hit a lob, right? He does, okay, beautiful, right? I'm just kidding, Jack's overhead's actually pretty good. But let's say Jack, I noticed that early on, his technique is off. Maybe he mentioned before the match, he never played tennis, so I know he doesn't have really great technique. I also might consider lobbing. Now here's the third time I'm gonna consider it, anytime, no matter who you're playing. And here's what I mean. In a dink rally, right? So let's start back here. Let's say, right, we served it, we hit a third shot drop, boom, we got up to the kitchen, and now we've neutralized the point and everybody's even at the kitchen line. We're always looking for ways to create small advantages that could lead to larger advantages, right? And so what happens a lot of times in pickleball is we're strong at the kitchen line, and everybody, let's just all do it to show it. Like, be strong at the kitchen line. I actually want everyone just to be leaning in a little bit, right? And part of the reason you might lean, Jack and I, you and I will dink, is you want to be able to take balls out of the air, right? To take away time, to apply pressure. And so if I notice my opponents are leaning in, I don't care if they're 6'8" or 5'4", I'm gonna be looking for opportunities to step in and lob the ball, again, to push them off the kitchen line. If you look at somebody like Elise Jones, who's not the tallest player, but she's a phenomenal lobber, and she does it in mixed doubles a lot. Callan Dawson, Matt Wright, Susanna Barr. Matt Wright's a little bit taller, but the other three, they're not as tall as other players, but they still have very effective lobs because they catch their opponents leaning. And anytime you can catch your opponent leaning, you should be thinking opportunity. An opportunity to lob and push them off the kitchen line in order to gain that advantage. If your weight is shifted forward towards your toes, and I recognize that, that's typically what you're doing when you're leaning in, well, I don't have to be perfect. Because his weight is shifted forward, well, the moment I hit a lob, he has to shift his weight from his toes back to his heels. And often, like we just saw a moment ago, Spencer won't even jump because he was thrown off. It was unpredictable that I was gonna hit a lob. One thing you'll also notice when you watch high-level players hit lobs is they actually don't often hit the lob right at the beginning of the point, right? So Johnny's back here with me, so I'm gonna serve it, return it, and then I'll kind of stop and talk it through it. So we serve it, return it, I drop it, we get to the kitchen, right? I'm at the kitchen, and now that I'm here, right, you don't often see a lob in the first shot or two. Occasionally you do if the lobber's really good. Matt Wright's somebody who might do that. What you see will reset. A lot of times is we serve it, boom, we get a return, we hit a third, we get to the kitchen, and it comes after we've kind of worked the point. So we're in a dinking rally, maybe moving each other around, maybe we've hit 4 or 5 dinks, and we go at a time that's unexpected. Because we just hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dinks, our opponents think what?
You get used to the pattern, you get used to the dinking back and forth, and it catches you off guard.
It's right. You get used to what's coming. Humans, creatures of habit, we see one thing, we think the same thing is going to continue to happen over and over and over. So the moment you switch to something different, it throws somebody off, you push them off the kitchen, you gain the advantage, and often that's when we start to win more points. Let's talk about the how, the technique for this lob, okay? And we're talking about an offensive lob. I'm talking about taking it out of the air, AKA a volley lob. The first one is you're gonna be down in the stance. You should be in this position all the time when you're at the kitchen, right? If you're down, if you're tall, your paddle's down, you're not in an athletic stance, if a ball gets hit at you, right? I'm gonna have slower reaction time. Number one is down in a stance. Number two is lean in and extend, right? So I'm literally, everyone just do it with me right now. You're gonna lean in, right? And extend your arm out. So I'm down in a stance, I'm leaning in to extend. Notice I'm closing space in the kitchen. Number three is lift the ball. So I'm here, I'm gonna lean in and extend, and I'm gonna lift the ball up, boom. So I can lift it over their head. It's not a swing, it's a lift, because I want trajectory, I want height, I want depth when I hit this lob. Stance, lean in, extend, and lift. And here's the final one. The moment after you hit the lob, step back. Let me tell you why. If I go to hit this lob, and let's say I hit a poor lob, okay? I wanna prepare myself for a bad lob. So I'm here, right? I didn't quite get as much lift on my lob, boom. So if Spencer's gonna annihilate that, I wanna give myself a little bit more time to defend and recover if I suck. Oh. Nice, right? So I actually gave myself a chance to stay in the point. Now, let's say I hit a great lob. So you might be like, well, I don't want to step back because it takes me off the kitchen line. I get it. If I hit a great lob and I step back and I notice it's good, meaning I push my people off the kitchen line, I'm just going to step back up. It's that easy, and then I'll put my ball away. I have plenty of time. I can step back, watch the lob go over their head, step back up, and then play the point. Now, we talked about what the lob is, why you might hit it, when you'll consider hitting it, how to hit it, and now let's talk about where you should hit it. Quick interruption to tell you that this video is sponsored by Selkirk. From the way they run their business to the quality of their paddles, these are my favorite paddles to use. If you want to get a Selkirk paddle, go to selkirk.com or go to selkirklabs.com, find the paddle you like, and I got you. Use my code, insert it in at checkout, and you will get a digital gift card towards a future purchase. Back to the video. Right now, we have 4 righties out here. So often the lob is gonna come from the right side player in a scenario like this. My 2 locations, one is gonna be across the court over Jack's left shoulder, and then over Spencer's left shoulder back here. Why am I going left shoulder, you ask? Well, most players have a worse backhand overhead than they do a forehand overhead. So if I go down the line over Spencer's left shoulder, right, that's gonna be a tough ball for him, right, to do anything dangerous with. At best, he's just gonna hit it back to me. Now, maybe he gets lucky and flicks one, but I doubt it. If I hit it over Jack's left shoulder, he's gonna potentially hit a 2-handed backhand or a 1-handed backhand, right? Boom, and I like my odds there because he's not gonna be that powerful. Now let's assume for a second, you're gonna be right-handed, you're gonna be left-handed. Now this is a little bit more tricky. We actually can still, what do you think? Where's our good lob spot? Yeah, left shoulder's still a good lob spot, but with a lefty, I'm probably not going diagonal anymore. Maybe, but probably not because this guy's got a left-handed overhead. Now, what we might do is it could be flipped. Johnny could consider going down the line. Yeah, beautiful, right? Now that might be a different lob, right? But I don't necessarily like that lob if Jack is a righty, right? One other special part at the end is, let's say ball comes to the middle. Matt Wright has done this to me a few times. Hit me a middle dink, I could still do that. I could go to the same spot with my backhand out of the air, and then the exact same thing. If I get a ball from the middle, I could go over his shoulder, money, it was out, right? Over to the same location. So I'm considerate of what hand these guys are, right or left-handed. But here's the main thing, somewhat a deception. You wanna make these lobs look similar to your dinks out of the air. All right? Nice, right? You wanna make them as similar as possible so the lob throws them off. If you wanna take one off the bounce, I actually think that's okay. I still like the out of the air better, but occasionally a short hop will throw them off if the short hop looks similar to how you've dinked balls previously. So that's the offensive lob. I believe it's one of the most underrated shots in pickleball. If you're looking for a player to go watch do it, watch Elise Jones, watch Colin Dawson, watch Susanna Barr, watch Matt Wright. Google those players, watch them on YouTube, and you'll see a ton of lobs that you can add to your game. Now, how about the defensive lob? If you want to watch a video on when to use a defensive lob, click right here.